for May 18th, 2021 is called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jennifer, roll call please.
Robert Carnahan?
Here.
John Foreman?
John
Foreman? Julie Rivera? Here. Ralph Miller?
Present.
Randy Niemeyer?
Present.
Colleen Sheehan? Here. Richard Sharp?
Here.
I am present. Rick Eberly?
Present.
David Austin?
Present.
We begin under new business. We're going to defer the approval of the minutes from April 20th, 2021 to our next meeting, June 15th, 2021. Number 2, discussion of the CCR water reports. If we, Rick or Tim, do you want to begin? And
I don't think there's really a lot of discussion. Everything's been done. All the testing has been done and completed. This is simply that CCR report that goes out to the residents, and you guys have to review it before it was sent out. You're getting it last week. I think everything is good to go to send it out. They were discussing, I guess the plan this year is to hire one of the companies to actually print and mail the thing instead of the guys trying to stuff all the
okay, that makes sense.
I was not included on that.
You're not?
I was not.
That was what Ryan Brandon told me, that was the plan this year, to send it to Print Pro or whatever to print and actually do mailing.
So, since I know Jack Doodly squat about what's supposed to be in a CCR report, Neil, have you reviewed it?
Yeah, we've seen that, and everything appears to be in fine order.
Good, then I'm gonna trust your word and Tim's word that we are on the right track.
I have some questions here with these reports, like there's 22 for the first section, and then it skips to another section which only has 2, which says, we failed to complete all the regulatory tests. And this is from January 1st through March. What is the first section for?
Unfortunately, Bob, I don't have that with me, but noting that you missed something, and as they have in the past, noting it is what's part of that report. But my understanding is everything the water utility is doing currently is consistent with the requirements of that CCR report.
And the thing that has been missed was that one test in 2019 that is reoccurring. There's been nothing else that's been missed, but that is still in that wheel of.
So
In the loop?
it's
In the loop,
basically
yeah.
an acknowledgement of what happened.
But-
Correct.
It's been corrected. We've sent in all the information to show everything is up to date and up to speed, and we've got several, those guys actually email IDEM once a week for a response to how do we get this check mark off of our list, and we've yet to have that. We've given them everything they've asked for, we've shown that it's all done, and we haven't received any way to move forward with removing that mark off of there yet, as of yet, so.
Well,
Brandon they started keeping a record of how many emails, we can get them all printed out, but we've emailed them once a week for the last 6 months to ask for a response to how do we move forward from that. And it just seems like like I said, it's in that recycle symbol.
Yeah.
Well, I thought maybe that the first 22 was for the west side, and maybe the 2.
There's actually 2 different numbers on there. If you look at it, it's 2 completely separate reports. There's one for the east side, one for the west side.
And I didn't catch that, but is the first 22 for the west side or the east side?
I know a little bit more than Randy does about the whole CCR thing, but I went over it with the guys, and if you look at this, Pete does.
I hope so.
Yeah.
By God, I hope he knows more than I do about it.
And then this is different, so these are.
I know when the citizens are ticked off,
And this
we
says,
gotta figure something out, right?
yeah,
And,
we have one
and
is
for clarity,
the 22.
it's very similar to having a sanitary sewer overflow. It's not a compliance or enforcement issue having one, but if you don't report it, it absolutely is. And when they do record those and report those, that's absolutely what those guys, that you got down there should be doing.
So the Solarian, Devonian aquifer is actually a name given to that water that we're pulling from?
Yeah.
It's gonna be renamed the Carnahan
That's for the
Aquifer.
west side.
Yeah.
I believe this is the west side, this is the east side.
Okay.
No,
The
no,
west
that's
side
for
was
the
the
record.
worst, and the east side's not as bad as the west.
Everything is on the record here.
I thought that since Sharp was the president, they were naming it after him.
There's 22
I thought it was
on
when
this,
Rick has deferred that somehow.
where it says we failed.
Hey, Rick, believe me.
I counted 22.
Well, I think that might have just been some of the test ones. If they're good, they're.
So they're both the same
Yeah.
failings, or east has worse, or west has worse?
No, they're both similar, the only, I guess the only.
This is part of the fun, Dave.
One test we missed in 2019. Everything else has been
Yes.
done and up to.
This may be the funnest part.
I just wanted to understand this, and I don't understand a lot of the terminology in there.
Hey, Bob, do you
That's
think
fine.
that,
You're not
you know, in
supposed to.
something like this, maybe call Neil and call Tim and kinda get,
I didn't know who to contact.
And Ryan and Brandon are 100% familiar with all of these terms and all of these requirements and all of these things. And if, I would've had him be here if I would've thought you guys were gonna have, but it's basically.
And Ryan's name is on the report
It's
right here.
a ministerial report, so I mean, they know, if you guys want, if you want him to ask Ryan, he knows every single thing of that, they work it back.
Okay, very good.
yeah, as I read through it and I started to look through these tables and stuff, I started to get sleepy. And I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go to something else.
And there's a lot
Then
of.
I got some words I couldn't pronounce, and that wasn't any fun.
A lot of technical information.
It is, a bunch of technical information.
Yeah, it looks like the ingredients to cereal on there, right?
Yeah.
All those weird words.
Any further questions on the CCR water reports? Seeing none, written report,
There's a consideration item for that, is that checking off
yeah,
on the
there's no
approval
vote
of
on that, or what
Yeah,
is
you
it?
don't need a vote on
Okay.
that. No, it's really just FYI.
it? Got it.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Jennifer, if you will move to you.
This is a good crowd tonight, Bill.
Written report.
Um,
Fund report.
Yesterday, the current cash balances and expenditure reports were sent out to you all via email. At this time, I don't have anything new to report to you. Oh, nope, I take that back. I have one thing that I want to report tonight. It seems that the IURC has decided they're gonna start a new review process. I got an
Oh,
email.
Wonderful.
Yeah, they're calling it a
They're the
tariff
best.
review. I'm calling it an audit from the IURC.
You're
So I
kidding.
have that to respond to before the end of the month.
They are the best.
So that's gonna be fun. I've already contacted our utility accounting specialist to help me with that. They only asked for a couple of samples of bills, make sure we're billing based upon the current tariffs and that kind of fun stuff.
Mm.
So, but,
So you
the
don't think they're gonna come up there and go through all the records?
IURC, no, but SBOA, I guarantee it before the end of the year.
What a highly effective bureaucracy they are at the IURC.
Yeah.
Looking out for everybody's interest.
Oh,
Chairman.
yes.
Are they sending us the bill when they're done?
They
They
usually
did
do.
not
Give us a bill?
state anything regarding a bill in the letter that I received, but I wouldn't put it past them, knowing them.
When the State Board of Accounts comes in to part, they leave you a bill.
They would-
Yep, they absolutely
Yeah.
do.
Okay. You should expect a bill.
Yeah.
That's all I have for tonight.
Looking out for the
That's,
people,
That's plenty, Jen, thank you.
bureaucracies.
And when can we try to get out of this Indiana Regulatory Commission?
We've got a little bit of time until we can meet all the provisions of our stipulated agreement, which includes after all of the debt is issued for the projects and the projects are fully in swing, then after that is completed, after a certain amount of time, we have to do a new system development charge that's the same system-wide. So that's the last part of the stipulations that we have to go through to get to that point where we can remove ourselves from their oversight and move on.
Estimated time?
Probably gonna be a couple of years.
Couple years, okay.
Yeah.
So until then, Bob, we got good times to look forward to.
Dave, did you have something? I'm sorry.
Maybe not.
Maybe not?
2 years is conservative.
Oh, that's so.
I've been waiting personally and professionally for a couple of years. Probably in a couple of days' notice it'll be filed.
Yeah.
This is just a matter of
Just saying.
getting
Just
through the
saying.
process. Getting done with what we said we would do.
I gotcha. I know the game plan.
Moving to number 4, our consultant and staff reports, engineer.
Good evening. The, item 1, West Side Sanitary Sewer Interceptor Update. Project 1 is, proceeding. We have 1 easement left and working with Dave's office on that in terms of some, appraisals that are being, prepared by the court or at the direction of the court. Item 2, West Side Project 2, we have the easement work in progress, and within 3 weeks, we'll be sending that first round to David to get them going. And as opposed to the last one where we only had 3 owners total, in this one, we have 10 properties, 7 of which have permanent and temporary construction easements, and 2 of those have permanent only, and 1 has only a temporary easement due to where we're located in adjacent to those property owners. And I've been in contact with the Lake County Health Department to request the septic maps, which we need to determine our location relative to those septic systems and how they look at the 100% replacement of those areas should they have a failure, to make sure we're consistent with a DNR and IDEM requirements regarding the septic systems. And then once we complete those easements, we'll proceed with the design work that we've begun relative to the easement preparation. There's some overlap on those, but once we're completed with the easements and deliver those over to Dave's office, we'll go full speed on completing the design work for Project 2 of the West Side Sanitary Sewer Interceptor. For the East Side Sewer, we did realize since our last meeting that we spoke, we have 1 sewer run that's left to be completed, and I sent that over to Tony and Kyle at the Public Works Department on the sewer side, and they're going to be completing that and getting it over to us so we can put the icing on the cake, if you will, for the RFPs that we're requesting for that east side rehabilitation for the manholes and the sanitary sewer collection system that all is tributary to Lift Station 3 from essentially everything on the east side from Lift Station 2 on more south of about 140th in that general area. Item 4, SSES, we have videos pending from Public Works and downspout and the sump pump inspections. Those are being scheduled. Item 5, the Utopia water main replacement. We're coordinating with Public Works on getting some data back to us, but that project is on schedule to be ready late fall to bid in coordination with what was discussed earlier in terms of the bonding relative to the IURC rate case that was filed last year for those capital improvement projects. The last item, 6, the risk and resilience analysis. We reviewed that in-house today, that we have a draft and we've prepared the data for the floodplain maps, pipelines, and then we're going to be doing a inspection by the end of this week on all the sites, including Town Hall and every location that the Risk and Resilient Program requires for Havenwood, Robin's Nest, the Parish, Utopia, pumping facility, and the elevated tank in that area, so that we will be on track for submitting a draft report to staff by May 27th, and then on schedule to submit that on June 30th at the latest.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
West Side Sewer Interceptor. Where do we cross the tracks? Is it on 151st?
159th.
Okay, so
That's
in that
the-
subdivision in the back of it?
Well, actually, the only location we're crossing the tracks is on 159th, just directly east of Klein Avenue.
Okay.
And we avoided the other two railroad crossings on Klein Avenue of the exact same CSX line by, crossing to the west on Klein Avenue about halfway between 159th and 155th. And that saves probably about $1,000 to $1,500 a foot by avoiding those two railroad crossings with the bore and jack, not including the incredibly onerous permitting and insurance process going through the railroad. And they were very accommodating with this first one, but it was just, it was a pain in the butt. But that's why we avoided that, because frankly, you get no value by crossing a railroad with the same diameter and the same elevation of a sewer that you couldn't get by acquiring an easement, which there's challenges with that to be sure, but they're much more manageable on a local level than a regional level or national level dealing with the railroads that operate under their own rules. Thank you. Any questions?
Any other questions? for
Yes,
Jim?
when's the water tower going up?
The water tower has been designed and permitted, actually back in 2018. The biggest challenge you have with that we identified through the 2015 Robin's Nest analysis of that production facility, and additionally in 2016 and 2018, that the transmission and production facility to supply water to that tower are of the utmost concern, because while you can build the tower, if you can't realistically or reliably maintain the water volume and pressure within that tower, which those are the limitations you have within the current Robin's Nest production facility, then it makes little sense to build the tower. But it is permitted. We just need to update that permit. But your current issues are the acquisition of the Paradise Cove production facility and the extension of a transmission main from that facility to what I would consider the south end of Lakeside 2 subdivision.
You know, you should really be like a senator in Washington or something with that answer.
I'm offended by your statement.
Offense intended. So, once the Paradise Cove well is finished being acquired,
Yes.
how long from that acquisition to the time we're filling that tank?
We need as soon as possible to have access to that site to be able to complete the design
You're killing
of
me,
what's
Neil.
in there. If you had acquisition today, within 90 days, we could have a design ready for the
Good.
upgrades that are required for that site.
Think about that clearly, 90 days.
90 days.
Once the acquisition's done,
You ain't got it, 90 days.
then,
Now,
because we're gonna put this in gear when the acquisition's done. There is a lot of activity and needed improvements that are hanging in the balance of this, that need to happen sooner rather than later.
to be sure. In addition to production, you need the transmission main, which we had prepared and submitted in 2018 as part of the initial look at that SDC charge on that east side.
Have we taken all of this to our financial advisors to look at, because all this needs to go through that SRF, correct? Or is it just the tower part of it that's going through SRF?
The
or-
SRF is a process by which you could choose to fund these improvements.
Well, that's what we had submitted in our IURC, rate petition. was
Yeah, they required you to submit or there was an agreement to submit a PER, preliminary engineering report, which covered these same improvements, the transmission main, the production facility, and the elevated storage in Crystal Oaks, and additionally the
Rick,
Utopia.
gavel that baby, would you?
Yeah.
But additionally, once you get production, we need to have that transmission main to connect that area to,
How long does it take to build the tank?
you're probably looking at between 10 and 12 months.
So question here, since we have all of these things to do, and then we still gotta line up the financing for it, is there anything that we could do right now in preparing the financing, in knowing what we have to do to connect from Paradise Cove, loop it into the system at Robin's Nest to create the fill for the tank? Can we get that ready?
Yeah, we have a recommendation for 2 alternative routes for the transmission main from Paradise Cove to the south end of the Lakeside 2 subdivision, because they already have proposed a transmission main from 133rd to the south end of Lakeside One, that's been installed, and proposed continuing from there to the south end of Lakeside Two, providing a location where we can connect to.
So what I'm concerned about is putting together the financial package, getting this prepared so that when the acquisition's done, the money's in order to lay the main, right? To connect it to Robin's Nest, to connect it to the eventual tower, so we can start erecting a structure.
Yes.
And have you communicated with the folks at Schilling Development about, what you just said about Lakeside Two, as well as the sewer trunk from Lakeside to the Morse Interceptor?
There have been many communications regarding the
Because that's not what I
interceptor.
heard, is that the interceptor has been lost in the weeds somewhere on that particular project.
There have been many communications that we have documented of where their challenges are, and depending on how much additional flow they're looking above and beyond Lakeside in terms of that 800 acres.
Can you get with Rick and make sure we got that subject handled?
Yeah, because there seems to be a lot of
It seems like
confusion. There's a lot of
No
confusion.
communication
I
somewhere.
did just this past week send him,
Okay, because
A
it seems
lot
like
of
there might have
information.
been identified challenges, but have there been identified solutions?
President,
Yes.
and Mr. Niemeyer, I talked with the, town utility specialist and bond council last Friday.
Okay,
They're ready to go.
okay,
We need a teleconference with Rick and Jennifer and Neil sometime within the next week or so. All of these things are in place. Which is there, depending on what is available in the SRF and the supplemental SRF. There's like a set aside portion of funds that are available.
the only reason I ask these questions is because a huge part of these discussions that went on in public meetings about the rate changes was making sure that this doesn't become one of these situations where our ratepayers are paying more and they see nothing happening. There has to be tangible assets being invested in. Okay, I'm just asking questions.
And I suggest we put this on the agenda every 2 weeks, 4 weeks, hereafter, until the house is built.
That'd be a great idea.
Absolutely.
That
You
discussion.
talking about the utility board agenda or the council?
Yeah,
Utility.
Once a month.
It's gonna heat up.
our biggest challenge right now is frankly access to the Paradise Cove site
That will be taken care of soon.
and direction to move forward on the transmission main to connect Paradise Cove to the south end of Lakeside Two.
Okay,
Did I hear you right? Did you say 10 to 12 months to build the tower?
To be fully operational.
So it'll take 10 to 12 months.
but that's once all of the other long-winded stuff that
Is
Neil
put
was
together.
saying is completed.
Everything has to go together. To build a tower without production and to build production without transmission to the tower, they have to all be together.
Understood.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Capital finance is planned for.
And
Okay.
capital
Not been
finance.
forgotten.
Okay,
It's being addressed.
Thank you, Dave. We move to Director of Operations, our Superintendent, Mr. Kubiak.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Our main thing we've been working on still is lift station 5 over here behind the lighthouse. That's coming along pretty well. We've had a few challenges with elevations and grades and electric and so on and so forth, but we're making good headway, getting along. We did find the area that supplies lift station 5 is a huge stormwater area. With the last rain we had, we have a bypass pump running that runs for maybe 10 minutes a day, and during that rain event, that last rain event we had, it was almost overflowing and could not keep up, so lots of rain entering into that area, so that was kind of a bad thing, but yet a good thing to pinpoint that much water is coming into that area, so we did find that out.
Is that lift station taking the rainwater in, and can we get that to stop going in there?
That's what we're gonna have to focus on, is finding where the sump pumps and the stormwater is getting it. It's a pretty isolated area, which goes to lift station 5, so will be a huge place to get a smaller place with a large amount of water that's getting into the sewer, so was kind of a good thing to find out, I guess, so. But definitely, though, that's where we need to start doing that sump pump checking and find out where things are tied into the sewer, so. Definitely on the list. That's about all I have.
Any questions for him?
That's a fantastic report.
They almost got the west side, fire hydrant flushing done. They're gonna start on the east side, so that's pretty close, so.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tim. Anything to report on JMOB, Rick?
No.
Okay.
We are working on finalizing a scheduling date for the, meeting with, Lake Dale.
Lakedale, yeah.
June 28th, is that?
I think all of you have responded now that you're available, so June 28th, 6 o'clock, our facility. We'll be sending a confirmation on that.
It's been many years in the making.
Mhm.
A decade. Our annual, this will be our second decade report. Is it a decade report or an annual report? And what do you call a decade report?
Listen, I've been on this,
Centennial report.
Centennial report.
yeah, I've been on this council for,
12 years,
yeah,
there's no meeting.
going 11 years, and there's never been a meeting with them, so, yeah, this will be a first.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
one item, you jumped over my,
I'm
part here.
sorry.
I'm not offended.
No, I'm sorry.
But I had a question
Good job,
for
Rick.
for you and for.
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Thanks, Rick. And for Neil. Given the, latest, update on the West Side Sewer Phase 1, last piece of land acquisition, we've never talked about here, or maybe haven't, I don't know it. The commencement of Phase 1 sewer interceptor. And I don't know what your trigger date is for commencing that project while we're doing the land acquisition on Phase 2, or are you gonna wait until the entire line, the entire 12,000, it's 12,000 linear feet, it's pretty close. Might be more.
What is the trigger point?
I'm sorry?
What is the trigger point?
That's up to you, spending
We
money.
could start-
Spending money is the trigger point.
But if all the land isn't acquired and everything's not in order, how do we start a project without knowing where it's gonna end?
That's, again,
Yeah,
we broke this into 2 phases for a reason.
right.
And if there's a trigger point between 1 and 2, it needs to be addressed and put on a calendar and need to start shooting at it, that's one thing. If not, and we're waiting until 10 pieces of land are required for 7,000 linear feet of sewer easement, so be it. Just wanna know, so we don't leave this dropping
I understand,
between the
yeah.
cracks
Phase 1
also.
was intended to go first.
Yeah, what we had discussed,
That's my point.
at the recent meetings was, and I had conversation with several contractors that specialize in these large diameter deep sewers, was, for their best value to the town and the ratepayers, bid it between September and November, begin construction in the fall. That way you're doing 2 things. One, you're giving them, additional work during their slow times, but you're avoiding the issues
And not
with the
interfering with the.
agricultural
yeah, yeah.
aspects of the 3, sites that we're looking at. And that's what we had discussed prior, and, we are on track to do that.
I think that's what we should stay on track.
Yeah.
So we're
But
looking,
if that's the case, you almost need to bid it in August, July or August, in order to have them get moving on it.
I had
September, October.
I had approached that with several of the contractors, and that timeframe to begin the work after the fall harvest was just unfortunately too much of a extension of time between when they would begin work to when they would bid work, because what we've seen right now is between 10 to 15%, sometimes up to 20, inflation in the past year on building materials and construction materials. And, giving them that additional time wasn't necessarily to the town's benefit. So we did look at that.
I can definitely understand that in the current conditions.
Yeah.
When you print money and there's no production to back it up. Here we are,
Yeah.
inflation.
We had a intersection improvement that was up 25% bid last year to this year. Wow. And it was just due to steel.
Mhm.
so, are we calendaring to Labor Day checking back in on this.
Labor Day a good date, Neil, or?
Yeah, we'll have, the plans updated, and, at that point, after Labor Day or in that general area, we'll update our, construction permit with IDEM, because those are, you know, fixed 12-month time periods.
It seems like waiting till Labor Day is too late. Maybe first meeting in August, we should discuss.
The utility board's first meeting will be August 20-something.
We'll have updates monthly regardless.
Yeah.
But direction, or requesting direction to go for the bidding process, I think that would be a very fine timeframe.
Enough time? Okay.
Okay.
And then we'll,
We'll do
we
that
should
the
know
August
where we're
meeting.
at, Randy, on phase 2 easement
We should have that hopefully wrapped up,
by then as well,
We'll see.
yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, you never know, but hopefully
No.
it's wrapped up by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, that's a good point. We have, 10 parcels and 20 total easements, because some have permanent and some are temporary construction, but,
10-4.
Thank you. Is that okay, Dave? Does that make?
No, I want to be on the record, you shouldn't be
Absolutely.
asking us questions about what we're doing, and we
Absolutely.
don't have a game plan or a calendar of projects.
Okay. Any public comment? Public comment? Jennifer, anybody online?
No.
Good. Seeing no public comment, this meeting is adjourned. Next meeting Tuesday, June 15th, 2021, at 6:30 PM. We go to the town council.
The Town Council public meeting is called to order for May 18th, 2021. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call?
Robert Carnahan,
Here.
John Foreman,
Present.
Julie Rivera. Here. Ralph Miller,
Present.
Colleen Sheehan. Here. Richard Sharp,
Here.
Randy Niemeyer.
Present.
I am present. Rick Eberly,
Present.
David Austin.
Present.
A quorum is established. We start tonight with the presentation, Commendation for Good Samaritans by Chief Bill Fisher.
Council members, on May 14th, around 1 p.m. in the afternoon, police and fire units were dispatched to the Dairy Bell located at 13134 Lakeshore Drive for a vehicle that had driven into the lake. I happened to be at Lakeshore Drive in Hilltop and arrived on scene a few seconds after the dispatch. When I approached the scene, I observed the vehicle, which was underwater, and the water had gone up pretty much to the windows by that point, nearly covering the vehicle. I was met by two amazing citizens who had obviously just come out of the water and were soaking wet. I learned that John Guzzo of Cedar Lake and Christopher Witter of Cherville, did I say that right, Witter? Witter of Cherville had witnessed the elderly couple drive into the lake. Both John and Christopher jumped into the lake and assisted the couple out of the lake, removing them both before I had even arrived. Although it was not extremely deep in this area, I found their act to be very heroic. Unfortunately, John was unable to make it to the meeting tonight due to work, but I would like to present to the council Mr. Christopher Witter and present him with this certificate of appreciation. The certificate has been signed by both myself and Council President Randall Niemeyer. The certificate says, Certificate of Appreciation presented on the 18th day of May 2021 to Christopher C. Witter in grateful recognition of your heroic act on Friday, May 14th, 2021. Christopher Witter. With Christopher, and I know that his wife assisted. She was out there too, is Jamie, his wife. We got his children, Liam, Avery, and Bristol. Did I say that correct? Yep. We have his father-in-law, Kent. And we have his grandparents, Joan and Brian. And two that walked in after I got names. Who am I missing?
Mom, Vivian, and Chuck were there.
Yeah. Mom and Dad? Yep. Mom and Dad, what was the names again?
Vivian and Chuck.
Vivian and Chuck. So they are here to be with them. So we can get some pictures if you'd like.
I didn't father-in-law.
Yep, we can. I said that. I think it's great. Good.
Oh, they did.
Would you like to get some pictures real quick?
Yeah.
Let's come up right here.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to the other gentleman too, who wasn't able to make it.
Yeah, he was unable to make it because of work.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's real cool.
Kind of moved behind, by the logo,
Yeah. Let's bring it back.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Come on, man, Mom's gotta be in here with you. Mom's don't get much to brag about.
So are you the gentleman that lives in Cedar Lake or in Cherville? Okay, well, we're looking forward to you moving to Cedar Lake.
Ruining the dice.
Yeah. Hey, when you move to Cedar Lake, we have a dive team at the fire department. That's Julie's idea.
Thanks, thank you to, all of you.
Thank you.
Let's move it.
Appreciate your contributions.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, that was very nice.
Chief, how relieved were you that they were out already by the time?
Yeah.
How relieved were you that they were out already?
Very, because I'd have been in the water.
I feel like all the same guy.
Well, that's a great example for those young kids that, their father, you know, jumped in selflessly to help another person. So hopefully those young kids learn from that and, someday help another one of their fellow citizens if they're in need. So, great example.
I will, have to say a great thanks to obviously the fire department, got in there pretty quickly, but, Sunrise Pier and Lift, stayed and, got in the water so that the tow firm didn't have to while they brought their big rotator out to lift the car out of the water, so, didn't really have any spills or anything in the water. It worked out really good, so.
Wow.
Wow,
And
that's
Ray
great.
Wally's lifted it right out, put it on the lift and got it out of there right away, so.
Ooh, a rotator, that's an expensive piece of
Oh, yeah,
equipment.
yeah. But they had to, because that wall right there is about a 4-foot drop, so.
It's about a $1,500 an hour piece of equipment.
I don't know what
Yeah,
it is.
everybody was fine, no injuries. The couple was actually, related to one of our firefighters, so. They were the grandparents of one of our firefighters.
Yeah, stuff happens and thankfully
Yeah, it was an
everybody
accident.
came out of it
Hopefully
well.
nobody got hurt.
Yeah, it
We'll
was-
go to, public comment on agenda items. Any public comment on agenda items? Third call for public comment. Jen, anything online?
No.
Okay, public comment's closed. Our consent agenda is the claims for all town funds, $198,252.98. Wastewater operating, $19,097.49. Water utility, $12,052.34. Stormwater, $9,447.62. And payroll for, what date is that?
That should be, the May 13th. I can
May
confirm.
13 payroll,
Yep, May
290,000.
13th.
$290,459.58. Manual journal entries for April 1 through 30, 2021. We have donations, Dare Donations, Glover and Sons, Inc., $100, Sickman Sons Plumbing, $250, St. John Paving, $500, McAllister General Contractor, $250, Nagy's Automotive, $250, Fraternal Order of Eagles, $500, Bungie and Company, $250, West End Development Company, $250, Caribbean Pools, $100, Sheehy Well and Pump, $50, Action Plumbing, $250, Altoff Homes, $250, Sterling Machine Company, $250, Cedar Lake Commercial LLC, $250, Christopher B. Burke Engineering, $100, Indiana Grocery Group, $250, and James Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, $250. Holy smokes, is that a lot of money raised?
We've been, working really hard to raise that fund.
Wow.
Wow,
That's great.
that's
And-
amazing.
That is a great list. Is there a
We've
motion to
actually had more
accept the
come in.
consent agenda as listed?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Rivera, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Sheehan, questions or discussion?
Yes. And I think, Tim could answer it. It said in the claims, chip seal. Is that for material or was that for equipment? Material, okay. I thought it was,
I
but,
believe it was in motion for
okay. That's all I have.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call?
Robert Carnahan,
Yes?
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben.
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Ordinances and resolutions, item number 1 is ordinance 1385, second reading, amending ordinance 1161, rules and regulations for the water utility to establish and prescribe water sprinkling usage regulations. Mr. Sharp, by its title only, please.
Ordinance number 1385, an ordinance amending town ordinance number 1161, being an ordinance establishing rules and regulations for the water utility of the town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, adopting said rules and regulations for the town, repealing all ordinances and town code sections, or portions thereof in conflict herewith, and all matters related hereto, repealing all ordinances and town code sections or portions thereof in conflict herewith, and all matters related hereto.
Thank you, Mr. Everly.
Yes, Mr. President, this will restrict sprinkling and water usage of certain types for our residents that are members of or use our town municipal water utility. So even numbered addresses shall only be permitted to use the water for things such as watering lawn, filling swimming pools, or any other similar use on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Odd numbered addresses for those same residential customers can use the water on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and then all residential customers can use the water on Sundays. No restrictions on Sundays. So that was one of the changes we made from the original reading, and we took out the restriction on washing automotive vehicles that was in the first version of this that you read 2 weeks ago.
So everybody gets 4 days a week to use.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President,
Mr. Austin?
the form of ordinance in your packet, or at least if you have the same packet I have, does not reflect those changes. Rick has described them accurately.
Right.
We cleaned up the language.
It's section 2, paragraphs A and B, and we eliminated paragraph C. Paragraph C previously said that you could not use the water on Sundays for these types of things. So we eliminated that, and paragraphs A and B in your packets have the right language in them.
So, for the record, make sure it reflects the comments of the town manager as to the usages allowed as well as the dates. Mr. Kubiak?
I'd just like to clarify for the record that this is strictly a effort to balance out the usage of the water. We're not having a water shortage or anything like that, but since all the new homes that are putting in sprinkler system, it's like everybody set them for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and like we're using, it's just fluctuating tremendously, so.
Just a management tool more than anything.
Correct, so I
Yep.
just want to make sure that.
Makes sense.
Hey, Rick, some of the other communities you've lived in, did they have similar
Oh, yeah.
ordinances?
Yeah, both Dyer and St. John have had those ordinances and have had to apply them. They don't necessarily always apply them. St. John had an incident where they're pretty low, their water supply was pretty low late last year, so they implemented something like this. But, yeah, it's pretty commonplace.
Okay, I was just curious.
Mr. Austin?
Conservation, however, is always something we need to be vigilant about, and Rick's right. St. John nearly ran out of water last year. They needed Cherville to have enough water to operate. And so, you know, I understand the primary focus wasn't that, but as a management tool, as you indicate, Randy, it's important to be attentive to it.
Right.
So before soliciting a motion on the adoptive reading, whoever makes the motion, if it is in favor of, can you please include in that the record that was made by the town manager on the language to be included about the types of usages and the dates of usage? Is there a motion?
Rick, I'll make the motion to adopt with the comments of the town manager.
There you go, Ralph. Good enough.
Section 2, A and
Good
B.
enough. Motion by Mr. Miller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
As much as I hate new rules restricting people, I vote yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Ordinance is passed. Next item is Resolution 1282, a resolution to enter into a joint interlocal cooperative agreement with Lake County for animal control services. Mr. Sharp by its title, and then Ms. Rivera.
Resolution number 1282, a resolution authorizing the entry into a joint interlocal cooperation agreement for animal control services between Lake County, Indiana, and the town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, for mutual benefit in all matters related thereto.
Thank you. Julie, the floor is yours.
So we heard at our last meeting from the Director of Lake County Animal Control. We also had their attorney there and to answer any questions. I feel that this is something that we need to enter into. It might not be a perfect agreement, but just please keep in mind when you vote, there's a stipulation where we have 30 days to respond in writing that we want to get out of the contract. So we have that. I think realistically, going into an agreement with another town and possibly having to pay for employees and costs is not realistic right now. If we find out that their fees for taking care of the animals, for surgeries, are just out of control, like I said, we can get out of it. So I think that it's prudent to enter into this agreement right now. It doesn't have to be a permanent thing, but we have to at least try, because this is what our residents want, and frankly, this is what I think is fair.
Could we not put a limit on how much they spend per animal? I mean, yeah, I have a problem with putting thousands of dollars into a stray.
You know, but even if we had our own animal control, I mean, what would we do? Make the decision to put them down, or?
Well, if it
do
exceeds a
surgery,
certain
or-
amount, I would.
Yeah, I just don't know who would make that decision.
Mr. Rivera, I believe that they will contact us if there is an exorbitant amount of, money that's gonna be needed for the animal. But I can confirm with them if you need me to. But I believe that's part of it, is they do basics at the beginning, but if it's gonna cost more than that, that they're gonna reach out to us and.
And I think they said like 80% of the pets are returned to their owners.
Was this a 1 year from today or through the end of the year? I didn't.
We can cancel at any time.
30 days.
Right.
30 days.
But this contract, is it
Yes,
1 year
sir.
from today then, or is it through the end of
Well,
2020?
it's, Mr. Foreman,
Yes.
that was one point, the only point I was gonna make in reading through this, in Article 3 of the, of the JICA, of the Interlocal Cooperation Agreement,
Uh-huh.
3.1, it says it's for the initial term of the agreement shall be for 2 years commencing January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2023. That's a 3-year period. That's not 2 years. So that actually should be December 31, 2022 to make it a 2-year agreement. But as Julie mentioned, you can get out of this contract with a 30-day notice. That's not a big, to me, that's not a big point of contention. There is another mention in here, and I know Mr. Austin's looked at this, and I think he's mentioned it to us. We don't have any ability to change this agreement. That's part of the language in here. I would hope that wouldn't include something like this that I would consider to be a scrivener's error as opposed to something substantial, or something more important.
But again, it's more of a 30-day rolling contract.
Yeah,
with the
that's
provision
really what
that
it
we
is.
that we can opt out.
You can opt, so since you can opt out, I don't have a lot of heartburn with that. It's just that that's actually a 3-year period, not a 2-year period.
Yeah.
But according to this, it begins January 1 of this year, John.
Okay, thank you.
And we've been criticized in the town by residents by not having something that they can take care of, strays and stuff.
It definitely has been a sticky point for us for quite a while. I spoke with Commissioner Tippie about this contract. He agreed that it's not the greatest contract, right? But that's something that the county, and I know that Commissioner Tippie is gonna work on it on behalf of all the communities he represents, because when he read it, he was alarmed by some of the vagueness of it too, but the fact that, like, as it was presented, you know, with a 30-day written notice, you can get out of it. It gives us a little bit of a buffer to protect ourselves if things get out of control. So, I mean, there is some reasonable consideration that can be made on that. Mr. Austin?
You don't want to comment.
That's the only comment I need to hear. Good enough. Okay, council consideration, is there a motion to approve or deny Resolution 1282, to enter in a joint interlocal cooperative agreement with Lake County for animal control?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Rivera, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Carnahan. Question Questions or discussion? Roll call vote?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes?
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben?
No,
Richard Sharp?
No.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 5-2. Yeah, there was a great pause.
Yeah, nice pause, Rick.
Added some
Freaked
theater.
me out there, did I forget to say his name?
Plan, item 1 is performance letter of credit, Summer Winds Commercial. Who wants it? Rick, Dave?
Mr. President, this letter of credit comes with a recommendation of our town engineer. He's looked at the numbers and has, made a recommendation that we accept the letter of credit.
Thank you. Mr. Austin, anything to add?
No, I concur in that. I've
Thank you.
reviewed the form and content.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion by the council to approve the, performance letter of credit?
Motion to approve performance letter of credit for
Second.
Summer Winds Commercial.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, second by Mr. Carnahan. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes?
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben?
yes,
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 2 is performance letter of credit, Beacon Point Unit 3. This will extend their existing performance LOC to July 12, 2021. Mr. Everly.
Same situation with this one, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Austin?
I think the expiration date's extended on this one, isn't it?
The expiration, yes, the expiration date is extended to the date,
No, I
Mr.
thought it was
Niemeyer
farther, I thought it was farther than this. This is
No,
2 months from now.
yeah, they have every expectation they're gonna finish those improvements.
I think we do,
Yeah.
Dave, yeah.
Yeah.
Form and content's fine. I thought there was a change in the expiration date
Thank you.
or discussion of it.
We have a recommendation from the town manager. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Scheeben. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes?
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 1 under new business, 2021-1 CCMG agreement, Fairbanks Street from 129th Avenue to 133rd Avenue. Mr. Everly.
Mr. President, we were successful in getting this 50/50 grant, from the state. We'll be able to do, Fairbanks, as you mentioned. It includes, some, I believe, some sidewalk and some curb work. The total grant is $101,474, I believe. And so our matching, funds will be the same amount of money.
Very good.
We expect this to be a summertime project, starts when school gets out, finishes before school gets back in.
Will that be next year or this year?
This year.
Got it.
Yeah. Mhm. Just so you know, Mr. President, Burke Engineering, I just spoke with them today about what would normally be a construction observation contract with them, but they expect this to be such a minor, work product that they would do it under their general services
Good.
agreement we have with the town. No need to go into a separate agreement with them.
That's good news. Is there a motion by the council to approve the, Community Crossings Management Grant Agreement, 2021-1?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Rivera, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Miller. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes?
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 2 is ambulance financing. Ms. Sandberg.
Council, so last October, we approved the ambulance bid award to North Central Osage. At that time, it was noted that delivery was approximately 220 days, 7 months, and we never moved forward with financing at that time. If we would have, the funds would have sat in escrow, and then we would have had to pay interest on the funds. So, in getting an update recently from Chief Wilkening, the unit is scheduled to be delivered next month. So I reached out to the 3 entities for updated financing quotes for a 5-year lease with annual payments in arrears. And I received 2 responses back from Tax Exempt Leasing Corp. And Republic First National. Tax exempt leasing corp came back with an interest rate of 2.38%, and Republic First National came back with a 2.85% interest rate. I did not receive a response from DeMont State Bank, so it's my recommendation that we enter into a lease agreement with tax exempt leasing corp, as they were the lowest responsive and responsible bidder.
Any other banks in our town?
Last time I had reached out to,
Centir or Tech?
Tech. Last time I had reached out to Tech, they didn't have a, I guess, lease purchase program in place for this type of financing is what they told me. But no, not Centir.
People's Bank is coming, they have a
People's
program.
Bank, yeah.
So I mean, definitely widen it up, in the future.
We have a recommendation from the clerk treasurer. Is there a motion by the council?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sharp. Is there a second?
Second. The
Second.
motion is for accepting?
Or accept.
Yeah.
About the
the
2.38?
Tax exempt leasing.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neiman?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 3, tourism funds request Summerfest 2021. Mr. Everly.
Mr. President, we had a request from the Summerfest Committee for some of the tourism funds. As you may recall, I believe it was at the last meeting, maybe 2 meetings ago, where you allowed $1,000 for the market, the farmer's market. We're not certain still what we're going to get, Jen. I don't think we've heard. I know Mr. Niemeyer talked with Spiro Spottisdato.
I reached out to him and haven't heard back, so.
But the last you heard from him, you expected it to be something like maybe 2/3 of what we've gotten in the past?
That's what he was predicting, but
Yeah.
again, we have no word.
We typically get the $4,725 a year. We think it might be somewhere more in the neighborhood of $3,500 or less. You did, as I said, you allowed $1,000 to farmer's market. Summerfest didn't ask for a specific amount, so it's up to you what you think you might want to allow them, grant them, if anything.
Do you think it would be safe to, give them 1,000 when we have?
But we don't know if we'll have it by the time Summerfest comes around, so.
Right, it's,
Last year, we received the funds and it was late July.
Right, so if we're committing money to people and we don't know when we're gonna get it, I don't know how the heck we can use it.
Yes, because
And
that,
commit it.
that fund is an in and out, so right now that fund is a zero balance
Zero,
until we
that's
receive
zero,
it.
Jim, okay.
Yeah, we can't transfer anything to the farmer's market until we get it, but the farmer's market goes on through October, so we have a little better idea of being able to distribute to them, so. I don't know, my recommendation would be is to defer this until we get an idea of when the transfer's gonna happen and how much it is. We just can't allot any money to anybody until we have it.
I'll make a motion to defer this item.
Thank you.
I'll
Motion to
second.
defer by Ms. Rivera, second by Ms. Scheeben. Questions or discussion? One discussion item, if we do happen to get these funds prior to the Steam Through History event on the lake, all of us attended the rebranding of the museum, and the work that's being done at the museum, and I made a comment to Julie Zasada. I said, my gosh, this is a real museum now. You know, it's no longer just a collection of antiques. It's really a living, breathing museum, destination-style educational museum, and one of the things that they've been working on for the Steam Through History event is getting a steamboat, which is under codes not allowable anywhere, right? That's an obsolete technology. Thankfully, our state senator and state representative worked with DNR to get that checked off on. But now their insurance carrier wants them to come up with $5,000 additional to pay for an excess liability policy. I've been working to help raise some of those funds privately, but I think that if we do get a distribution prior to that event, that it would be very good to at least take a portion of that and contribute to that, because that is a tourism magnet for an event like that. That's going to bring a lot of people to this lake during the the days that that boat runs, it's going to be a huge draw. And I would even say that if we don't get an idea on those distributions, I don't know, Jen, if we have anything in town promotion that can be used. But that's another consideration.
At this time, you guys have not touched town promotion, you have $4,000 available.
Because normally we would use that to help support the symphony, which I've been told is not going to be performing this summer. So these are things that
That's a good idea.
maybe at the June 1st council meeting, if we don't have any information from the Convention and Visitors Authority, we appropriate some money out of the town promotion line item to support that event, to make sure that they can have the boat on the lake, and they've even been looking into an extended period of time to be able to operate that boat into August. So, this could be a massive attraction for us for this summer, really a showcase for Cedar Lake. So if there's ever been a place to invest taxpayer money that is a good bang for your buck for the town in these sorts of events, what they're doing there at the museum is a good place to sink it in. Thank you for that. We have a motion and second. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
No.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 6-1. Item is deferred. Next is number 4, appointment of new member to the Board of Zoning Appeals. I believe this item will also need to be deferred, waiting on confirmation from a potential appointee.
I'll make a motion to defer, the appointment of the new member to the BZA.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Foreman, second by Ms. Rivera. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 5 is agreement for the elimination of sewer billing, 14623 Huseman Street. Mr. Eberly.
Ms. Sandberg.
Ms. Sandberg, I'm sorry.
So we received confirmation from Public Works that this tap has been capped off and inspected, and this item is ready for your consideration.
Thank you. There a motion by the council on the agreement for the elimination of sewer utility billing for 14623 Huseman Street.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Miller, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. We move on to reports. Town Council, Mr. Carnahan, the floor is yours.
It's a different night, but I'll say the same thing. Chamber had a luncheon, Monday, and our town manager was the speaker. I was unable to attend it due to a funeral I had to attend, so if you'll repeat kind of what you said last night.
I just reported to them on a number of things that we're doing here, looking to accomplish the Lake Eco Restoration Program. I think as a hot topic, of course, around town. Everybody's really happy to hear about moving forward on that. Talked about some of the street projects we've got coming up as well. A couple of the commercial developments that are looking at the town, that type of thing. It was well received.
The parks, you mentioned the parks also, but that was.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Bartlett Wahlberg Park, the pier, of course, the 2 piers the town's gonna be putting in, and the pavilion and the washroom facility at Bartlett Wahlberg Park that we're looking to put in as well, so.
And you also mentioned about a Taco Bell?
Taco Bell had contacted me about 4 to 6 weeks ago, looking at some property right by the high school, on the north side of 133rd there. They haven't been back in touch with me recently, but, and of course, Dave had mentioned, People's Bank, coming to town, Domino's and Dunkin' Donuts,
Across from the
across from
chamber?
the chamber, yeah, so, yeah. Yeah, it was the first, I guess it was the first one the chamber's been able to have because of the COVID.
Yeah, we've lost some pizza places recently, so getting some more back in will keep us with our branding of Pizza
capital.
Lake, you know?
Pizza capital of Indiana.
It's fantastic.
Well, there's a number of different people
I
that
love
say
it.
they really like Domino's.
Yeah.
Domino's actually really good pizza.
Is it?
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
Extremely healthy, too.
That's what we need.
Like Rise and Roll, Randy? Is that
Right,
kind of-
yeah, Rise and Roll, that is really healthy stuff there.
Inexpensive.
Any other town council reports? Town attorney?
No report.
Clerk treasurer?
Council members, I gave to you all just a bit ago a copy of my draft legal notice and my resolution for an additional appropriation as well as an appropriation reduction. Due to the prior personnel items that were approved earlier this year, some personnel line items within different departments within the general fund, will need a little bit more in order to carry us through the year, as well as PSAP share bill costs increased this year, so we did not have enough budgeted, so we'll need an additional appropriation for that. This also includes the additional appropriation for the community crossing grant we received for the 129th Avenue project. Those funds have been received, but we have to go through this process in order for me to enter the appropriation so we can spend when it comes time to construction. So the total general fund, additional appropriation that I'm proposing is $73,200. The community crossing grant additional appropriation is $343,963.88. And then the appropriation reduction will be from the general fund, out of police department's budget, and that will be $50,000.
So Jen and I had a very good conversation today with our financial advisor, conference call with them. And again, Corby has been a tremendous resource, and available when we need him to talk about these things. So, we were talking about some of the additional appropriations and how this year we seem to have a whole bunch of extra activity that we haven't come across in years past. And, what Jen just said about the need to, instead of spending every single dime that has been budgeted, looking at ways to make cuts because we are appropriating so much more money. And as a way to kind of balance this thing, we have a budget process coming up where, in our conversation, it was recommended by Corby, Jen, and I agreed myself, was that we need to really look at going into the budget process to make additions in personnel rather than continuing to do all of this stuff mid-year. We adopted a budget last year. We've already made a lot of adjustments. And we have an opportunity coming up in the coming months as we start the budget discussions to take a holistic look at next year and take a sustainable approach. I mean, the sustainability report was all about looking at ways to be consistent and make sure that we always have enough in the coffers. And as Neil presented tonight in the utility board meeting, looking at inflationary rates and what usually that's a signal of some economic slowdown, possibly a real estate bubble bursting that could slow down growth here too. So having that conservative approach of building the foundation during the budget process to where it's something we can stick with for the entire year next year is recommended by our financial advisor and was talked about today. So, and to Jen's credit, she is, from the time you've started here to now, you've grown a lot. The conversation today was really, really good, and I've gained personally a lot of confidence in what you're doing, so it's appreciated how you're managing this, and you deserve to be backed up on what you're trying to do to manage it. So we've got good resources and a good team of people, and I think as we go forward, we need to kind of put a pause on the continual additions we're making and look at, okay, we're making the necessary appropriations to fill the holes. Let's go into the budget discussion with a sustainable approach. So, any other things in the report, Jen?
Just to kind of piggyback off of what you said, you know, I just want to make sure that everybody remembers that total commitment that was made when we talked personnel last year and making those updates. You know, that all hit the general fund, and that was over $500,000 that we committed. I mean, that's a significant chunk of change as we go in. So as we continue to make more changes that only adds, you know, and so looking at everything that Corby put together for us for the sustainability plan, I mean, when talking to Corby today, you know, I pointed out a lot of things to him that he was unaware of, which changed the bottom line. And then it, you know, it skewers the sustainability plan that you all approved, you know, and it really throws things out of whack, and then we get off the path that we had decided we were gonna move forward on. So I agree, you know, 100%, and I've said it before, with seeing how expenditures are going so far this year, we really need to take the time to see what our spring settlement is, see how things continue to go, whether or not expenditures continue to, what I'll say, outpace, because as of right now, the general fund, Corby and I came up with a very similar number. Expenditures are at approximately 37%. If we continue with expenditures on that way, then we will end up expending 100% of what we budgeted. And you can always, I mean, obviously that's what you budgeted, so you can expend all of it if you wanted to, but is it really wise to? Is it wise to continue making changes, you know, especially when we want to make significant changes as we move into 22, 23, 24, and 25? So just some things to think about.
Yeah, and it's about prioritizing, you know, Chief Wilkening had presented to us, the need for kind of reformulating his budget a little bit instead of having a 13th person,
Right.
utilizing those funds to provide, some more competitive salaries to his people. And Chief Fisher did something similar last year. And those are things that are priorities, right, that we're still looking at in consideration, and still have a July start date considered for that as part of that conversation. But looking at approving the salaries plus another person is going to be exceedingly difficult.
So that'll wait till next year.
Well, like I say, we have a budget season coming up here where those discussions start, and that's something that we can plug into all the metrics of the sustainability plan to be able to come up with how does next year look from a sustainable standpoint. You know, what are your priorities for each department, for the police, for the fire, for public works, for the town manager, for the building department? Prioritize things, fill those priorities first, and then go from there. So it's good discussion. Corby definitely understands that we are taking an aggressive approach to addressing the public safety needs.
Good.
Because it's not getting any easier for anyone in private business to hire folks, and it's definitely not getting easier for public sector, especially public safety, with all the pressure out there on them to hire and retain talent. So, good conversation, and Jen's leadership on this has been on the money. She's been working very, very well with our department heads and with her Chief Deputy Margot, so.
So will you have
15.
another council affairs to discuss the January kickoff then of the disbursement of that 13th person, or?
When we get the budget season going, the council affairs will meet with Jen and Corby and the whole team. We'll have numerous meetings, there'll be numerous reports at council meetings, so once we get to that point where those discussions start happening in earnest, yeah, absolutely, there'll be plenty of meetings and plenty of reports here.
But will somebody see changes come July, I guess is my question.
As far as the salaries go?
Yes.
The intention is to move forward with those
With that.
salary increases, but not with another person.
Right, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to.
Because right now, we're at such an area with overtime, especially in the fire department, where we're gonna have to make another additional appropriation, possibly out of those ARP funds, to cover that hole,
Gotcha.
to get past this year and then go into the budget season with a new set of numbers to work with.
You bet.
It's a growing hole, that's the problem. It's a
No,
growing
I
hole.
get it.
Does that reflect the conversation, Jen?
Yes, I'm just adamant that we continue to watch expenditures and keep all of that in consideration as that July 1st date comes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm good.
Town manager?
Couple of quick things, Mr. President, I took a ride through, Lynn's Way today, Tim, and maybe you were gonna mention this, I'm not sure, but quite a bit of the ADA curb cut work has been completed in Lynn's Way. I'd say it's a little more than half completed, Tim. So we will make that deadline. We have to have that done in the next couple of weeks here, and we fully expect to complete that work. And then, I have mentioned before that, I'd like to, we have about five or six persons that are interested in some properties that we own, and we've had some appraisal work done on those in preparation for selling some of those, and I'd like permission to work with Mr. Austin on preparing those for a sale coming up here pretty shortly in the next several weeks if we can. So these are lots that, as you know, we picked up over the years various ways, that we don't have any particular use for, so we're ready to dispose of some of those, and you've done that in the past. So just would like to put that together with Mr. Austin and bring it to you in one of your upcoming meetings.
Makes sense.
Where would that money go from the sale? And
I would say the general fund.
Where did the money come from to acquire the properties?
probably the general fund.
Maybe not.
Some of it may have been utilities.
Could have been. So that's where it should go back to.
Yeah.
Go back from whence it came.
We have the appraisals, we know, we have the appraised values, we have the appraisal costs. Jen's working on researching liens on the property, so
I
we
should
can
have
put that
something for you
together.
by the end of the week.
Once we have that together, I'll get those numbers together, work with Dave, and we can prepare to divest ourselves of some of these small properties.
Is there any objections by the council on that? Okay, thank you.
No.
Then you have the leeway to go forward with that, Rick.
Thank you.
Director of Operations,
I have nothing.
Police Department.
I got a few things for you, council. First, I think it's probably the greatest news. We sold the pier. We put it on govdeals.com once, and it got bid up to $12,000. But it turns out they auto-placed the bid, and it just kept ring until it ended. So we put it back on, but knowing that there was a very good amount of people, we put a minimum bid on there of $2,000, and sold it for $8,500.
Holy smokes.
So the wire transfer was made on May 13th. I don't know how Jen usually receives those.
So Gov Deals is really fun. They send us a paper check and they're ridiculously slow.
Okay.
So you'll remember we got rid of an old copier back in January.
Yeah.
I literally received the check for it yesterday.
Okay. So it might take us a little time, but we received $8,500 for it. They have already received the money for Gov Deals, and the pier is gone. And it was picked up today. The bidder was actually out of Anaheim, California, but it turns out they're related to someone locally who wanted to buy the pier, and they were just bidding for them. So they paid for it, and then they came locally and picked it up.
Oh,
So that's a good thing.
okay.
So the pier's done and
I
gone.
never dreamed we'd get that kind of money.
I did not either.
Amazing.
Well,
Second thing-
local people were also bidding on it.
It was, Sumara that bought it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And, Cedar Point Park was also bidding on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were,
So
you live in
it
the
worked
Heights,
out really good.
yeah, I live in the Heights.
Yeah, it worked out really good.
Could I interrupt for a second? I would like to make a motion that the $8,500 that we got for the pier, we've been talking and talking for a long time about the eco restoration, that we don't have money for the program. I would like to see us take that $8,500 and put it in the account that we started here, and then, be able to, put that into the project. Hopefully, we could maybe get somebody to match us or that.
You mean the non-reverting fund?
Right.
Well, I think that we, was it last meeting or the meeting before, where we approved the engineering to kick off that project, so we actually do have the money planned out in our sustainability plan to do it now,
Yeah,
for
but,
the lake dredging.
yeah, but I would like to see us put the money in the account that we had started here, in case we want to take the project to the next level. We've got,
For matching?
right, and, CLIA is out gonna raise some money. Maybe we can take this lake restoration, get it up to,
I think Mr. Miller and I talked about it, one of the things we thought about was you guys had continued to talk about the lake restoration and continue to fundraise for it. And if we could put that money in there and find a location that would do a matching, you could put another $16,000 to $17,000 into the fund. I know that's pennies on the dollar when you compare to a $5 to $7 million project, but it's still $17,000, so. I think that's what we talked
That's
about.
something we would have to prepare for the next meeting,
okay.
for a agenda item,
It,
Ralph?
it's still gonna be a couple months before we get the check
Yeah.
anyway, so,
Exactly.
yeah.
I'm just thinking ahead that this was money that we, you know, that we're not, taking away from the town. This is extra money that we weren't planning on getting, that came in, that maybe we can do some more with the lake.
Okay. So if we could prepare that for the next council meeting, Jen and Rick, if you want to get with Ralph to get some clarity on what we're looking to do,
I would like to do some research.
that would be good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Second thing, item, you
Thanks,
see
Ralph.
that we had our calls for service, 1,048 calls last month, really picked up. We're almost at 4,000 calls for the year.
Business is good.
We've got written 666 tickets, 1,243 warnings, 13 arrests last month, 32 charges. We've had a total of 172 charges for the year, just in the first 4 months of the year.
Bill, it's off by one. I just got a text, somebody hit a pole on Parish Avenue a little bit ago.
That was last month.
My last item here is obviously a discussion topic, and it's been a discussion topic for quite some time. And I know that you guys were just recently talking about this issue. But I would like to bring back our, yeah, I would like to, bring back our code enforcement. At the direction of you last meeting, you said you would like to see some numbers and lay it out for you. So as you can see on the FICA Med, we actually are way over, on the estimated value. Of that $85,000 that's in there, $50,000 is being reduced right away, that the clerk treasurer is gonna take to try to, fix some of those problems that are, the expenditures are going, well beyond. You'll notice that in one of the line items for the part-time clerks, it's gonna be short for about $3,000. That was due to us not realizing how long Darlene would stay, but we can correct that. What I'm asking the council to do is allow me to, on the very bottom, which is in yellow, allow me to take a little over $14,000, put it into the part-time fund, and bring the clerk, or the code enforcement officer back for the rest of the year. I understand that you have issues with sustainability, but if we can revisit that and actually have a legitimate discussion, when we do the, budgets, that way we can look at it for oncoming years, but I can let her come back, finish out the year, with the amount of tickets. She actually is doing, court today, free of charge, with Ryan, and talked with her, so she's gonna be there doing that, right now. But I would like to bring her back. She's only averaging about 18 hours a week. So she's not even hitting the 25 hours. She's trying to be as beneficial as possible. Over this year, over the last year, she issued almost 500 citations and over, almost 900 warnings to citizens, on top of the fact that we just started a new ordinance, related to watering, that she could also be doing there, is driving around the subdivisions, letting people know when that is supposed to happen. So I'm asking the council to consider us allowing to transfer that $14,000 into my part-time line item, let her finish out the year, then we can have a legitimate discussion about sustainability, because obviously that's a question now. I don't think $14,000 is not going to be able to be sustained till the end of the year, but, will let me finish it out, and then we can talk about it further.
So, in the conversation with Corby today, you know, we did talk about this as well. And like I say, I'm just one person here. I would recommend that we talk about this in the budget season, because we are so tight on expenditures. Having a little bit of cushion in the budget to make a transfer for a needed expense somewhere down the line, to me, has more value than necessarily bringing on a part-time person for the rest of the year. But that's my opinion, and I know that our financial advisor and our clerk treasurer, we agreed that having a little bit of cushion would be a good thing, especially with how tight we're gonna run this budget.
I don't disagree with you, sir, and I respect that, but I will still have a little bit of cushion with the 50,000 taken out of the FICA med that's going, and 35,000 being left over. I'm only asking for 14,000 of it, so I'll still have a little bit of cushion. As you can see, I've run a pretty tight budget. I try to stay within the numbers. I've been working really hard at this to try to maintain that person. It's a part-time position. It doesn't require anything other than hours worked. And she does a really good job out there. Upsets some citizens, but she's just trying to clean the town up for us, which is what the complaints are that we get all the time. And this just adds to it. Just a little side note. We've had 156 house permits to date right now, 156. In 2016, that number was for the entire year. So we're expanding, and we're going to reduce that by taking the code enforcement away. Then she's doing her job out there. So I'm asking that the council consider this and to allow me to bring her back just at least till the end of the year while we discuss this in the budget cycle, because I know individuals have a problem with her or that position. I'm not sure why, but I'd like to discuss it to find out what the issue is. And then we can figure it out, because it's not that much of money, but it's doing a very good job for us.
So you're saying this amount of money will get you through the end of this year?
$14,000 is all I need.
During the budget season, if
Mhm.
we're able to figure out a way to have it sustainable as
Yes,
a
sir.
continued part-time or as back to being full-time?
Part-time,
Okay.
part-time, as continued part-time.
Yeah, I think, like we talked a month or so ago, I think having the ability to move those citations that were written through the court system, and if she has to be there, is that a true statement? She has to be there?
She needs to be there, yes, otherwise they're dismissed.
But she can also be subpoenaed, so that's not
Doesn't mean
entirely
she'll have
true.
to appear, though.
No, she's not getting paid.
She's not required, no, it doesn't, she does not, it happens all the time, officers don't show up at subpoenas, they're supposed to be there, but they don't, and it gets dismissed.
So you don't wanna get into that discussion. When officers don't show up for their court hearings, that's a problem. But we
It
never-
is, I agree.
We never report that to anybody.
agree.
We don't come here and complain about it.
I'm not complaining about it.
Well, it sounds like it.
No, I'm saying that I would like to bring her back on so she gets paid to be there, because she was being paid when she issued them.
In response to the councilman's question, I answered it.
I do too.
So Jen, the dollars that Bill's identified, it's legitimate, correct?
This was as of 2 weeks ago when we pulled in an expenditure report and we did his year-to-date expenditures and what we averaged out as for the remaining pays. This is his personnel lines only, and as of that date, that's how these numbers fit. And looking at the expenditure report I ran this morning, numbers are similar.
Okay, thank you.
You got something, Tim?
Yeah, I got one thing to add. I mean, we get 1 or 2 to 3 calls a day for code enforcement people at the building department. But, I mean, the people in the town are kind of used to having the code enforcement position now filled, and there is there is requests for people with chickens, people with pool fence, people with weeds, I mean, there's constant calls coming in to deal with those issues, and we're kind of passionate to the police department and trying to, do stuff, but it is something that there's a hole in the, and again, I think as the building thing boom slows down, then the building inspector / code enforcement could come into play, but we're averaging, anywhere from 30 to 40 inspections a day now.
Well, the building inspector, code enforcer was meant more for the building code stuff, things that get missed, like you have a BZA approval and somebody's not living up to the covenants of that approval. You have somebody with a building permit that's been sitting out there and they're not doing anything with it, dilapidated that's more of what that was for. And the idea is to get through this year, and police officers can do ordinance enforcement, but a building inspector, a police officer can't be a building inspector. So that was where it was trying to find a way to get more out of this position, and we've added a whole bunch of general fund expenditure to everything we're doing, including personnel. I think that with the latest chief, I think you're gonna be at 4 additional officers? We had 2 that we just hired. One's gonna replace a retired,
I'm just adding one.
one replaced,
Those 2 we just
Corporal
hired
Wood,
were
right?
replacements for ones that left.
Right, but wasn't there 2 more supposed to be?
Yeah, we're gonna hire one to replace Lieutenant Purcell, who's retiring, so that's another replacement, not an addition. We're adding a new one at mid-season like you gave me permission to last year, so.
Right, that was part of the
So we'll add
budget.
one officer, correct?
Right, so I mean, I look at it that we're investing in additional personnel already.
I agree.
You know, at a pretty good clip, and it's fair to the taxpayers if we have this, in my opinion, have this discussion in the budget process rather than always doing things on the fly here. That's just
I'm
my
not
opinion.
disagreeing with you, Mr. President, I really ain't. I agree with that. I'm asking to let me finish out this year with her, and let me be able to present that to you in the budget year for next year as an ongoing, expense.
So since the budget process discussions are going to be starting soon, and if this got deferred or put on the agenda in a month from now, does that help you? Or is this
I wanna
something
bring
that
her
has
back
to
right
happen
now.
immediately?
I'd like to bring her back right now.
Okay.
But that position was eliminated in
Right.
last year's budget.
We would have
and
to
it-
make a
and-
new-
And it continued without any of our knowledge.
Correct.
I understand that,
So,
and I respect
The
that. I'm
fact
not
that it was
saying that.
ignored is a problem,
I'm asking that we bring it back to finish out the year.
but it was eliminated in last year's budget. Everybody knew it was eliminated, and then it was completely ignored. So that's where my heart comes
I don't
in.
think that it was ignored, I think that it was not eliminated, it was not, the position was filled faster than expected, so, I know this is a tension, I'm not trying to cause a fight, sir, I'm just asking.
I'm not having a fight.
I'm
Stating
asking for this
facts.
14,000 to bring her back and let her finish out the year, and then if we can have this simple discussion in the future about sustainability, if it's not sustainable, I respect that, if I can be able to argue the point, or at least be able to talk to you guys about it, because I was told not to last year when you were eliminating the position, and that's what is upsetting. Last year when we were eliminating the position, I was told to be quiet about it, I'll just keep it at that, and because I didn't know it was being eliminated. I thought you guys were adding positions onto it. So then when it came up to be eliminated, I was approached and asked whether or not I could find the money to maybe keep her, because I didn't know it was gonna be eliminated. I just knew that it moved from my department to another department. I just thought it was being moved.
Yeah, I kinda like your cleverness of what you're trying to do. I mean, Randy, if you'd be, allowed to amend the agenda to try to make a motion to do something on this, I think, I'd like to ask you to do that and see where it falls.
You can make a motion, John, you have just as much
Okay,
of a say here as I do.
so I'd like to make a motion that we approve,
So
Chief
make the motion
Fisher's.
to amend the agenda.
First, we have to make a motion to amend the agenda to add the, part-time, code enforcement officer throughout the remainder of the year.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, second by Ms. Sheben. Questions or discussion? Roll call to add this to the agenda.
Robert Carnahan,
No.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julia Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
No. Motion carries 5-2. The agenda item is for consideration of the part-time code enforcement officer to be transferred out of FICA Med, total of $14,713 to the part-time line item. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that is the item up for consideration.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with resubmitting the part-time code enforcement officer position not to exceed $14,713 for the remainder of this 2021 year.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Sheben. Questions or discussion? I have discussion. So we just had this discussion with our financial advisor and clerk treasurer and had this report, and it means absolutely nothing. And so the fact that this position was eliminated and then carried on and now brought back from the dead mid-year, which was what we just talked about, is going against everything that's being recommended as part of our sustainability plan. So this is a pretty interesting move.
But you said earlier in your discussion that you and Jen had with Kirby that this was brought up. Was it brought up to the extent of taking the FICA Med dollars out of here and using it for the remainder of the year? Or
Jen,
was
you
it
had
just
that discussion with Margot. What
adding
was
it?
that discussion about the FICA Med reduction part of this?
So what we had realized was that FICA Med there was a surplus and in doing our calculations, it looked like when we did the budget last year, that we included 77 fund members. 77 fund members do not pay the 6.2% Social Security. So we were over budgeted in that line item, and then, as discussed just a little bit ago, looking at the estimates, looking at the averages, that's how we came up with the approximate 85,000 surplus, that we anticipate. And then, in my mind, I took that 50,000 appropriation reduction because I know, looking at these reports every day, that 50,000, I can take that amount and I can reduce it. And looking at expenditures and knowing what's ongoing right now, that 35,000, you know, it could be used for part-time, or it could be used as backup. We do have some personnel that are participating in the COVID vaccination clinic. But on that flip side too, we are getting reimbursed 100% for those expenditures.
I see.
And also what we looked at in big picture in that conversation was the impact of the raises for the fire department are gonna
Yeah.
be more than just the reduction of that salary line item of that one officer. So we're gonna have an additional appropriation, not just for overtime this year, but also for that additional officer.
Randy, can some of this additional 77 fund dollars from police be used for that as well? Or is that
You know,
against rules?
Like I said, my recommendation, all this stuff is gonna continue to be, let's go into the budget season with this item as a priority for Chief Fisher and have that discussion then, not bring back a position that was eliminated in October of last year, back from the dead mid-year this year. That's just my comments on it.
And that 77 fund, that's the police pension, right?
Yeah.
That's
And-
police and fire. Yeah.
And I've been told in the past that if the town was to go bankrupt, that would be the number one priority, that fund has to be paid out first, over
Correct.
anything else.
Correct.
Yeah, that would have to be paid ahead of everything.
So I don't know
But
that we
this
can.
is not the.
I don't think we
this is
can
not the
touch that
pension
fund.
It's not the pension fund line item I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well,
We're
John
talking about
mentioned
FICA
that.
Med that was over, estimated because we don't pay Social Security. Fire and police do not pay into Social Security at all, which means we don't get it when we retire, okay? So it was overestimated of around $85,000 because they thought we did pay into it, with the monies that came through. So she took 50,000 of that because of overages in other areas already to try to make up for that. I'm asking for $14,000 to get her through the rest of the year.
And I'm recommending that we don't recreate a position that was eliminated and we leave a little bit of cushion because we are facing some very interesting times right now. And I wasn't looking for any fight in this, Chief. I'm simply doing
No,
the
I
job that people
I
elected me
respect
to
that.
do.
I do, I
And I'm
respect
gonna
that.
continue to
We've
do
had
that.
this conversation, I respect that.
Yeah, and I see
I'm
both
trying to do it
sides
the
of
way you wanted me to also. I'm bringing it
we're
in front
having
of you
this
so we can talk.
conversation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I'll keep
There's
my
a motion by,
on the
John, a
table.
second by Colleen. We're in the questions and discussion portion. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
No.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
No.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
No.
Randy Niemeyer.
No.
Thank you.
Motion fails 3-4.
That's all my reports, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Fire Department,
Chief Saffron put the 30th wedding anniversary there.
well, congratulations to he and Julie.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Poor Julie.
Yeah.
Or congratulations to Todd for keeping.
Just
you.
kidding. Congratulations, Chief.
June 8th is when it's supposed to be here, actually probably between 5 and 6 o'clock when we see it pulling in. Along with, police department call volume to the fire department attached in your package, all increase continues. We also find a very nice letter from the city of Gary mayor thanking us for help, during their bad time here a few weeks ago on the weekend when they had 22 structure fires all together. Simultaneously, we help with that.
Thank you very much for doing that.
You're welcome. And, Marine unit has been up to Hammond a couple times assisting, try to find the, child.
Is there any updates on that at all?
I don't have one.
They were, they had aviation up searching the river now, so.
It's
they had
horrible.
nothing
That's
really-
awful.
Can't imagine.
Yeah, I saw the letter in the packet from the mayor of Gary, that was, to the fire department, that was nice.
Yeah, it was very nice. Anything else, chief? Building department report?
That's page 55 of your packet, Mr. President. As Chief Fisher indicated, the 156 building permits have been issued by the end of April, which is, we had 2 months in there that were record months. I think it was March and April both. March broke the previous record and April broke March's record, so 156 building permits so far this year. We had 289 last year, so
Waiting.
we're on a pace to certainly
Incredible.
eclipse that.
Always. Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you for that update. Christopher Burke, engineering report is page 56 through 65. I believe this is a kind of a general update on projects and some legislation. Any highlights in there? Mr. Everly, as you saw it?
No, sir.
Thank you. Correspondence from Mayor Jerome Prince, that was mentioned, but that is page 66, or 60, looks like 65.
Yeah, 65.
Addressed to Chief Wilkening. On behalf of the citizens of Gary, please allow me to express our sincere gratitude to say thank you to the Cedar Lake Fire Department. On Sunday, May 2nd, the city of Gary experienced a rash of fires throughout the city. These fires prompted the Gary Fire Department to request backup assistance from neighboring fire departments without hesitation. 10 fire departments from surrounding communities came to the aid of the city of Gary, and the fires were extinguished with no fatalities. It's a perfect example of the bond that Northwest Indiana communities share. We are able to come together and address major concerns that impact the constituents in our respective communities. With all that we have been through with COVID-19 pandemic, it was truly uplifting to witness this type of generosity and cooperation from our neighbors. Citizens of Gary, stand with me to salute the brave firefighters who consistently put their lives on the line, and thank them for all coming to the aid of our city. Please know if there's anything our city can ever do to reciprocate your generosity, we are just a phone call away. Respectfully, Jerome A. Prince, Mayor of the City of Gary. A very nice letter. Very good work. How many people did you send, Nick?
Just myself and one other guy in the truck company was off the duty crew back in town. Met up with another mutual aid department, which they were by themselves on their own fire, helped them wrap up. Kind of bounce back and forth within a block of a few different structures, all abandoned. But the interesting thing was is when we were leaving, we were backing out, we were flagged down by someone, their neighbor's house that was abandoned. It just started on fire, just an exposure problem with the members, so we were able to help them out with that. And,
I sure hope
get that on it right away.
Sure hope the city of Gary can see some success here in the future. I know that Mayor Prince, you know, knowing him personally, he's an energetic guy and he's working hard, so hopefully he has some success.
And I know him very well. I served on Lake County Solid Waste, and when he was the assessor in Lake County, I was in the courthouse, went in to just wish him Merry Christmas. He took me around every office in his building and introduced me to everybody.
He's that kind of guy, for sure. Okay, public comment, open public comment.
Jim Dixon, 8711 West 132nd Place. The Cedar Lake Summerfest decided to celebrate the 40th year. The decision was made April 15th. So we're a little behind in some administrative work because we are volunteers. I'm here to ask if you will waive the rental fee of $1,000 a day. In the past, we've done that in exchange for a sponsorship. And also there's a fireworks permit for $100 for 2 night, so that would be an additional $200, and we're asking if you can waive that. And I apologize it's not in writing, but we're just trying to get through the checklist as quick as we can.
Would it be okay if we put that on our June 1st meeting?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if that's what, yeah. I mean,
That way we
And
just
I-
have
I think
official consideration.
Last year, we had waived it, but then they couldn't have Summerfest,
Right.
so I thought it was
Well,
still
we're not
in place.
assuming it's carried over, yeah. We're
Just to
here
make it official,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
at that June 1st meeting, if you've got a little list you can put together, of things you're looking for that we can,
He's already got it.
awesome.
They're gonna, that part's been taken care of.
Great.
This part has not.
Then we'll get that on the agenda and get it in front of the council for
Okay. Thank you
consideration.
very much.
It's exciting. I've been, getting a lot of comments, Mary Joan, from people that are really pumped up that Summerfest is back, so I think you're gonna have a humongous crowd.
Yeah, I hope so.
It's gonna be massive.
It's like lumber, comes up.
Yes. Any other public comment?
Hello, my name is Deborah Nelson, 8605 West 131st Avenue, here in Cedar Lake. I know the council does not get involved in any neighborhood or neighbor issues, but I've had an issue with a concrete retention wall that I had addressed with the building department back in 2019. I was instructed by the building department staff that I would need a legal land survey for anybody to look at this piece. Well, I've been listening to the Zoom meetings during the pandemic, and I did hear how the property across from Bartlett Park there is the responsibility of the property owner to maintain that wall. So my question is, would that pertain to me also as being a property owner in Cedar Lake? Because none of these attorneys that I seem to call to get the answer seem to want to call me back because I don't want to have to go through an attorney. I would just presume go to the county and pay what I need to. I can't get no estimates. No one wants to come out and look at it to give me an estimate to
I'm not
present
familiar
to-
with your property.
Man, I'm trying to think about where it is too.
Yes.
Is it
Meyer
up on
Manor.
the hill,
Yeah, I'm on the,
above the Bartlett Park?
No,
no, I'm in Meyer Manor.
Oh, Meyer Manor.
The one way.
Oh.
I'm on the downside of this property. It's a retention wall that's, you know, fallen from a gutter neglect, and now it's sitting on my fence, and
And was it on somebody else's property?
it
and
is
it's now-
somebody else's property. I've
Oh.
got the paperwork. I
Gotcha.
paid for a legal land survey when the BZA and the building department let them do work with a land survey. Not a land survey, a mortgage survey, but I was made to pay for a legal land survey. But they got approved for a project with a mortgage survey, and I'm just floored. And now I'm stuck with this piece of concrete on my fence, and,
Mr. Everly, do you know anything about this?
no,
No,
he
What is,
wasn't
what
in
is your address again? I'm gonna look at it
Tim?
on Google Maps.
8605 West
There was
131st
some-
Avenue.
She
Thank
had
you.
an issue with the retaining wall. I instructed her that the only way to figure out whose retaining wall it was is to have an actual stake survey and make sure.
And I can't even have the last stake done because of how that property is fallen over. And the gentleman
I mean,
said,
the last.
I called your
The
office.
last we talked was.
I called your office and the girls told me, after I was told by this neighbor, they're not gonna do anything with that wall. They don't care about the water damage at my foundation. They don't care about the dirt coming over. And your girls down there told me, well, we don't know what the law is. I'm like, so I paid money for something during a pandemic on a very fixed budget. And
So you're still not sure if the fence is on your property?
it's not my retention wall. It's right here.
You've never provided that.
You came by and looked at their project, and I was outside, and I thought I should go over and say something while he's there.
I did look at the project, and the project was a deck that was
I don't, you know,
slightly far off of the property line, so that was why the BZA approved the variance, because the deck was not, you know, it wasn't.
yeah, but I know exactly, the
You're
deck
talking-
is her yard, I
you're
want the
talking
wall.
inches and you're-
I want the wall, it's like 12 inches that's went over. the
And
property
did they
line.
not, why won't they remove the wall? Did a
Because
wall-
they told me that they talked to their attorney, and their attorney told them that if it's not bothering them, and it's bothering me, I can remove the wall. and I'm not taking liability
But
for
if it's,
it.
no, I'm with you. Yeah, you
If it's,
should.
if it's their wall encroaching her property,
You
It's
know,
their
it
problem.
affects my property value.
It's their problem.
20 years ago, I
Sounds
put
that
a
way.
foundation under that house, you
what's
know?
that, Tim?
If the wall, that's why, I mean, that was the point of the survey, if the wall is on her property, then it's not her wall.
But if the wall fell from their property to hers,
I've got pictures of her gutter when it was coming right at my place.
how
there
can
were-
somebody's property, if something slides off a piece of property onto another, become a possession of another person?
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
And again, that was the kind of the point of knowing if it, who's.
Dave, can you comment on this?
This is a hell of a mess.
Yeah, and like I said, if Bartlett Hill is the
The wall
responsible
belongs
of
to the person who put the wall in. And that wall slid across fell across or rolled across. You and I have one of these.
I guess it's leaning
We
a
look-
little bit, I haven't
Oh,
seen
it's
it
not a
in quite
little bit.
while.
I should have brought my phone down, it's not a
Now,
little
now
bit.
this is one of these situations that, I had
Exactly.
envisioned for this building inspector slash code enforcer to be able to look at this from what is a right standpoint, you know, if it, that
Legally,
wall
where's,
belongs to
as a
the neighbor.
homeowner, property
Like,
owner.
if I have a car sitting in my yard and it rolls down the fence in neighbor's
Oh, I've
yard,
already
is it
been
all of a
through
sudden
that.
somebody else's car?
Ma'am,
Doesn't make
I think what we ought to do is ask Rick to dive into this thing, if you would, sir, and try to come up with a resolution to help.
I'd like to see this.
Deborah, could we get a copy of that?
I'll leave this, and I'll get it
I
back.
can go make
This
a
is
copy
weird.
Well,
if you want.
if this is an extra, just leave this
Interesting,
with.
well, at least she
And I
went and got a
actually-
survey, so there's no, it's clearly easy to see who,
This right here, they can't even
where her
mark
land
it.
is. That's the first step. You gotta know your land versus theirs.
That is
So the
strange.
retaining walls
What
here,
you own, what they own.
Yep.
The retaining wall.
But
what is the best way to view this? Is it from your property or from the neighbor?
131st Avenue, you can see it right between our two properties.
You can.
Yeah, you can see
Okay.
where, my survey marker is kind of, got broke up.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Well, Deborah, I appreciate you bringing this to us, 'cause, we're all learning something here tonight of what you're going through, so it's definitely
And-
appreciated.
You know, it's gotten to the point this wall leaks between, and
Yeah.
it's just puddling in my backyard, and like I said, 20 years, we did, jacked up the house, and I've called several concrete people, and they're like, it's property, it's water, we won't even look at it.
Can you make sure that, Mr. Everly has your contact info as well?
Sure thing,
Okay.
sure thing.
Thank you,
I
Deborah.
appreciate your time, it's like,
I
but
appreciate you
every
coming.
time it rains, and I have, I'm like, it just gets to me.
We like to hear from our citizens even when it's not fun.
Not all the time.
Thank you.
219.
Hey, we've had plenty of meetings where,
74,
it always hasn't been fun.
54.
there are some very sophisticated whole
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming out.
legal theories
Thank
about
you. Y'all have a
common
nice
energy rule.
too.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
There's all kinds of stuff.
Any other public comment? Public comment, anything online, Jen?
No.
Thank you. Public comment is closed. Our next council public meeting will be Tuesday, June 1, 2020. This meeting is adjourned.